Hey folks, your OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of the LiteXim QW-07. This is a pair of active noise cancelling wireless Bluetooth headphones. This is actually in a pretty competitive category now. In the past few months, we've seen a number of ANC wireless Bluetooth headphones. The pricing has dropped significantly compared to a few years ago, and there are more kind of third-party companies making these type of products these days. And of course, with Bluetooth wireless headsets and earphones being the future, with less and less phones having traditional headphone ports, this might be something useful to consider. Pricing is also very similar to past models we've seen. It sells on Amazon for around $60 or so, which is average. The design itself doesn't really inspire too much differentiation from other models. It does look fairly discreet, but it's not really all that flashy. It's made out of polycarbonate plastic. It has a over-the-year style design, and it claims to have 15 hours of audio playback, which is also quite long. Active noise cancelling, of course, provides additional microphones that creates the inverse waves of sound waves around you. So this works particularly well in low frequency environments, such as on an airplane where you hear the sound of the engine, and it will create again the inverse wave of the noise itself to cancel out that sound, so you can listen to your music or sleep in more serenity. So it's a pretty cool concept. Connection range for Bluetooth is roughly 10 meters, which is very average. Also includes a microphone for answering phone calls, and it uses simply micro USB for charging. Also can be connected using auxiliary input if you don't want to use wireless Bluetooth. So let's take a look at what we have inside the packaging first. There is a hardshell carrying case, kind of like Nokia or more expensive Bose headphones. Obviously the sound quality here isn't going to be quite as refined as those, and also again the build quality being plastic is one area where they were able to cut on costs a little bit more. We get a few things. There's an airplane adapter, even though most modern planes these days already have a standard 3.5mm jack, especially at international flights. And here is the micro USB cable. There's also the auxiliary cable and additional adapter prongs. The cables all seem to be of reasonably good quality. The wires feel actually quite durable and soft, but it's not a flat ribbon wire, so it can still occasionally tangle if you are simply just popping it carelessly into a backpack. There's also a user manual down below here, and that's it. So a pretty simple presentation. Taking a look at the design of the headphones next, they are pretty lightweight just because, again, it is made predominantly out of plastic. You can kind of see the microphone grills. That's where it picks up the ambient background sound and creates the ANC reduction technology. So for kind of studio-style over-the-ear headphones, these are definitely lighter than they look. There's a simple switch on the front that you can tap on to turn on the ANC feature. You can turn it off and still use it as a Bluetooth headset, and that will conserve on battery, and that gets you even longer battery performance of around 20 hours. The top here is relatively nicely coated by a layer of soft memory foam, and if we kind of extend the arms outwards, you can see a bit of accenting made out of metal, so it should be durable enough. The oversized ear cushions are also pretty soft, made out of the same material as the headband. It's a soft memory foam. Now, they do accumulate a fair amount of heat in my quick testing, so far. And what that means is if you're wearing them for longer periods of time, it could get potentially, not a little bit stuffy. But overall, they are very comfortable and soft. And just because they are over the ear, they already isolate a good amount of sound just by nature of this particular design. Bottom here features the auxiliary input, the micro USB port for power, microphone for using it as a speaker when talking through a smartphone, and there's also the power key on the other side that you can tap and hold to start the pairing mode. And afterwards, it's going to automatically pair when it's on and remembered with an iOS or Android device, so no complaints there. You can notice that the headband itself is actually fairly traditional. There's still kind of a jut out or a slight angle on the sides, you can notice here. On our previous ANC headsets that we reviewed, they seem to be a bit more obvious, and that was actually a design element borrowed from the Nokia BH905 headphones that was reviewed almost a decade ago. And it may look like a quirky design to have this part protrude outwards, but it actually works pretty well because if you wear glasses, it misses out on those frames and you can still wear the headphones without having the glasses squeeze really tightly on your head. So that's just something to quickly point out. These are not quite as prominent, but even if you wear glasses, they are still relatively comfortable in my testing so far. When it comes to audio quality, they also sound pretty good. I would say that they have a nice punchy bass. They're not quite audiophile grade, but overall they have clean sounding performance. If you're listening to speech, if you're listening to vocals, which relies on mids and highs, it definitely has a good amount of detail. It claims to be CD quality like, and I would say that's a fair evaluation. It's not, again, high-res audio, but if you're connected to a good quality YouTube streaming, or if you have an audio library stored on your phone, you should be pleased with the reproduction here. It sounds quite natural. It does have a good warmth to the sound, just because they have slightly larger drivers, and listening to, again, lower frequency sounds, there is a pretty good prominent punch to the bass. It does a pretty good job of staying connected, so as long as you're holding your phone, or if you're listening to music, your device is in the same room, there's no real dropped issues in my testing. Battery life is arguably one of the most impressive aspects of these particular models. Indeed, they lasted me for quite a while. I actually haven't gone past a need to charge these yet. I've tested these out sporadically over the week now for about 10 hours, and the battery is still going strong. So it seems to be significantly better, at least, than your Bluetooth earphones, and even compared to some over-the-ear Bluetooth headphones, which can only last about 11 hours, 12 hours. This is already getting to be a bit longer than that. Active noise canceling on these sound good. I would say it's roughly 65%, maybe 70% of canceling out background noise. I did try wearing these when there were a few planes nearby, and it did drown out that sound, so I was able to concentrate a lot more. The thing to note with ANC is that sometimes it can cause a bit of a headache, or a bit of kind of a shock in terms of the difference between it being on and it being off when you first are putting them on. It puts a little bit of pressure over your ears. But with these, they still felt actually quite comfortable, so that's good. They're definitely not quite as effective as something like Bose A Quiet Comfort series, which gets maybe 80 or 90% of noise cancellation. It creates more of a shocking difference between that. But these are, I think, good enough for most casual users, and especially on trains, commuters, planes, it really does a good enough job. ANC does not cancel out mids and highs, so you can still hear some conversation and people talking around you, and regular voices should still creep in. So that's at least is decent, because you want to be able to hear at least what's going on around you to a certain extent. It's pretty comfortable to wear, again, for a good amount of time, and ANC turned on, you can even use it to, I guess, sleep on an airplane if you want to do that. So I think that these are overall a pretty good pair of Bluetooth-enabled active noise cancelling headphones that don't break the bank, and certainly offer an interesting competitor to more expensive models on the market. They don't have necessarily the flashiest look, but they are comfortable overall with good quality, especially considering the price, and the battery life is the most impressive thing here. I also like the fact that they had a bit more bass than I was expecting, which is always nice, and that they are reasonably lightweight. You can check out more details about these in our official written review, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the LiteXim Active Noise Cancelling Bluetooth headset.